r/AskReddit. What's your best back quote? But wait, it gets worse story. An acquaintance got married in an extravagant $80,000 ceremony, that's $57,000 in freedom dollars, and broke up on their honeymoon. But wait, it gets worse. They split because the groom was cheating on the bride with a string of one-night stands. Meanwhile, the bride was having an ongoing affair with the best man. But wait, it gets worse. They pretended to stay married for 6 months, after out of shame, but it all came tumbling down when he made a huge Facebook round calling her a whore and tagging all their friends and family in it with the most dramatic shitstorm of a comment section known to humanity. But wait, it gets worse. The bride and the best man decided they wanted to have a baby and she immediately ran off with him and got knocked up. Friend of mine just lost her ex-husband and father of her child to a motorcycle accident. But wait, it gets worse. 15-year-old son had a birthday a few days after the accident. Gift arrived in the mail day of the birthday. His father had gotten him motorcycle lessons. Just heartbreaking. I was a manager at a hotel in Oakland. A valet parker took a guest's Corvette out for a joyride. He lost control of the car in a residential area and crashed into a parked car in a driveway. The Corvette and the parked car smashed through the home's garage door and caught on fire. The home partially burned down. The valet was caught by the police a block away fleeing on foot with a broken leg. Credit where it's due. That guy is a tough bastard to limp around with a broken leg knowing that he'd be caught anyways. Adrenaline is a hell of a drug. I broke my arm really badly in a bike wreck about 10 years ago and managed to carry the bike 2 of the 3 miles home before it started to hurt badly enough for me to realize that something was wrong. No joke. My husband got illegally checked during first period of a hockey game and hurt his knee. Played the rest of the game and drove home. Finally saw a doctor a few days later. Was told his ACL and MCL were shredded, torn meniscus, and the worst bone bruises the guy had ever seen. A co-worker of mine, we'll call Andy, had a brother we'll call Mike. Mike's wife died from cancer, leaving Mike and his 2 kids who were around 5 and 7 years old. But wait, it gets worse. Overcome with grief, Mike ended up killing himself, leaving behind his 2 kids. But wait, it gets worse. Andy had to sue his own parents to get custody of Mike's kids due to several issues with the grandparents. But wait, it gets worse. And his wife died suddenly, leaving Andy to take care of Mike's 2 kids and his 2 kids around the same age. This all happened over a 3-year span. Edit. Just a minor clarity adjustment. In 2018, my dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer in April. My stepdad was diagnosed with terminal cancer in June. My mum was diagnosed with cancer in September. Treatable thankfully. One of my closest friends was diagnosed with cancer, also treatable, in October, and I had to have my 12-year-old bunny put down a few days later. Then in November, my aunt died. I was in work when I took the call about my aunt and I just couldn't stop laughing because it was so ridiculous that this was happening all one after the other. It was hysteria. I wasn't amused by her passing. Fast forward to 2020, my stepdad died at the beginning of May and my dad died at the beginning of June. The friend who had cancer in 2018 called me the day after my dad's death to say her cancer is back and it's in her bones. And then my dad's funeral was scheduled for 3 days before Father's Day, which happened to be the day before my birthday this year. So yeah, that's my tale of woe. Worst thing is, I'm not convinced I'm even at the end of the story yet. Edit. Thank you for all the kind thoughts. I'm sorry to hear how many other people have had similar experiences. Hope you're all doing okay. I'm absolutely fine. The only positive thing about knowing someone is going to die is having the chance to spend quality time with them and make happy memories. I even got married early this year to make sure my dad and stepdad could share the day with the family. There's no link between the cancer diagnosis and the area. Everyone lives in different cities. 2 of the people had a genetic cancer risk and the others were elderly. I also promise I'm not radioactive. Edit. Please stop saying I should sue the medical team at Bascom Palmer, several of whom I befriended during my treatments. I'd be dead if it wasn't for these people. Their initial assessment was 100% correct. A mole on your eye is just like a mole anywhere else. Normally, totally harmless, unless it decides to grow into something else. Went to my eye doctor for my annual checkup. He says how there's a spot there that wasn't there last year. You need to go see this specialist. So I did. Then he said, oh yeah, this looks bad, go to this other specialist in Miami. I go to Miami. They go, yeah, it's a mole, don't worry about it, and call us if you notice any changes. But wait, it gets worse. A couple of years later I go back for another checkup and mention my eyesight got a bit worse. My eye doctor goes, that thing got bigger. Yeah, you should probably go get that thing looked at again. So, back to Miami. Specialist goes, okay, well it's cancerous now. I need you in surgery next week. I have to figure out how to save your life. A week later they do a biopsy and find out my eyesight got worse because it created a cataract. So they fix that too. Then the following week I go and get a motherfucking radiation patch attached to my eye for 3 days. But wait, it gets worse. So, I think I'm past the worst of it until one morning I wake up and I've gone completely blind in that eye and I'm in searing pain. Another drive to Miami. The fucking tumor exploded in my eye. Tumor necrosis is the medical term. Very rare complication. They sit me down and go, hey, that I may have to go. Sorry dude. But wait, it didn't get worse after that. Thanks to some intensive therapy I didn't lose the eye. In fact, they were even able to save my vision a few months later with reconstructive surgery. I currently live in a 3-bed 1-bath house. My roommates were getting married and had a bunch of bridesmaids over at the time. A couple of them stayed the night after drinking. I wake up the next morning with a massive shit festering in my stomach. Every move I make I feel it's just gonna squeeze out. I heard both girls in the bathroom giggling and getting ready. So I panic. Grab a roll of toilet paper and head to a remote part of the backyard. When I went out back, I left the door cracked enough for our shih tzu to sneak out. I didn't see him while I was shitting and ran back inside to grab a plastic bag. The girls had just walked into the living room. I chatted them up, avoiding the fact that I just shit in the backyard. Finally they left and I returned to my shithole. It was half eaten and my little old dog was face down it, slurping it up. Disgusting, right? I had to clean his face off with rags and water and soap. Before I could muster all of the items up, he jumped on the back patio furniture and ran his shitty little face through everything. Then he shook as I walked up to him, flinging my own feces every which way. I finally cleaned him and put him inside. I cleaned up the couch pretty quickly, and it being outside furniture, I was able to blast it down with a power hose. Not bad, right? Quick and easy? Nope. I walked back into a monstrosity. Poor guy ate the shit so fast, and it being shit, it didn't settle well. This isn't an exaggeration when I say that I counted 16 different piles of dog vomit feces throughout the house, most of it on the couches. For the next 12 hours, cleaned up my own shit turned dog vomit, basking in the smell of horrors for what felt like forever. I worked in an operating room and was on call. Arriving at the hospital, checked in with a doc and patient in pre-op. At least once per year we get someone with something stuck in their ass. The young man was there with his mom and sister, who explained the dildo got stuck Friday night, but that their grandma was sick, so they waited until Sunday to bring him to the hospital so he could see her. Then per usual the family and patient is asked if they have any questions before we take him back. Mom says yeah, while he's in there can you test him for STDs? His sister tested positive and was operating the dildo, so we want to make sure. This happened about 10 years ago. My boyfriend called me in the morning and dumped me over the phone. I was really upset and forgot to finish the laundry I'd started, so I had to go into work out of dress code. Of course, that would be the day our district manager was visiting, and I got written up on the spot, even though it was the first time I'd ever been out of dress code. Spent my break crying because the universe was just taking a dump on me. But wait, it gets worse. When I got home that evening I had a notice of eviction taped to my door because we had apparently been illegally sublet the apartment and had no clue. Didn't even cry because at that point it was just yup. That seems about right for today. I work at an office. The building is owned by my boss who is too cheap to shell out for actual maintenance service and has employees do handy work around the clock. One day, it started to snow. The snow was sticking to the sidewalk and showed no signs of letting up, so of course me and my coworkers had to go out and clean it. So while my boss sat in his nice, cushy office, we start shoveling. One of my coworkers, let's call him X, is relatively new and having grown up in an apartment complex, has never shoveled before. Well, maybe that contributed to what happened next. He starts pushing the shovel in front of him at a crotch level. And eventually, the shovel head gets stuck on a raised brick, and it pushes the handle end of the shovel into X's crotch. There was no shovel handle, because he had been given a broken shovel with a rusted end. Castration being imminent, X proceeds to tuck and roll off the sidewalk and into oncoming traffic. Fortunately for X, somebody grabbed him and pulled him back to safety. Boss drove him to the emergency room and paid for the resulting tetanus shot and 14 stitches on the inner thigh. Needless to say, he was not allowed to shovel again. Edit, a word. Oh goodness, I don't even know where to start with this, but here goes nothing. Last December 26th my phone rang early in the morning. My dad had passed away unexpectedly in the night sometime. One day after Christmas and the day before his birthday. I try to help my mom get through all the legal paperwork and things that comes after a spouse dies. Made sure she had groceries and company multiple times a week. I lived in a different town from my mom, so I was traveling a lot between towns. 6 weeks after my father passed, my mom fell ill. I brought her to the hospital early one Wednesday morning, had her flown out to a bigger hospital later that afternoon. She passed away that Saturday. Apparently she had an aggressive form of cancer, and any symptoms she must have been feeling we attributed to grief. But wait, there's more. The night of my mom's funeral, which I planned and made arrangements for, my horrible sister gets wasted and goes bananas, keeping me up all night when I was already physically and emotionally exhausted. The few days that her and her husband were in town, they basically just took what they wanted and accused me of stealing things. Not to my face, but to family friends. I was left to clear, clean, and get the house ready for sale by myself. My mother had so many things from deceased family members that she hadn't had time to go through, sort, and donate, yet so I did by myself. But wait, there's more. 6 weeks after my mother passed away, while I was working on her house, I miscarried. In the last few weeks I have found out that I have fibroids and potential cancer in my uterus/cervix, so I have a whole other path of uncertainty to walk down in the coming months. As far as I'm concerned, 2020 can hurry up and get the hell over already. Monday the 3rd. I know no one will see this, but my dear grandma passed away around 3 this morning. I just can't believe this keeps happening.